Welcome, friends. In this module, we will be reflecting on 20 spiritual behaviors. These behaviors have been taken from Bhagavad Gita, the scripture of Hindus, the holy scripture of Hindus. And we will be reflecting on these 20 spiritual behaviors that are so very essential for our existence. The first behavior is that of being humble, which has been called in Bhagavad Gita as amanitvam, or absence of pride. Oftentimes, what happens is that we start becoming proud of our own accomplishments and abilities. Oh, I have done this, I am so great. So, these kinds of accomplishments, we have to understand that they have so many contributors. And we alone, our body and mind, cannot take credit for these. There are so many people involved in the accomplishment of any task. For example, I may publish a paper. In that paper, I may have co-authors. I may have various participants who've participated in the research. There may be so many people from whom I have learned the research process, and so on and so forth. So there are so many people who have contributed to the accomplishment, and this body and mind cannot claim credit for entirely for that. At the same time, we have to be certain of our qualifications, but we should not demand respect from others. Oh, I've published this paper, so other people should also respect me for that. That is becoming proud without understanding the true nature. So we should be grateful of all that Almighty has given us and not feel a sense of entitlement that others should also give me due respect for what I have achieved. All human beings have their own experiences, and each experience is unique and great in its own way. If that person was not there, then that accomplishment would not be there. So we have to understand the whole thing in the totality perspective. The second spiritual behavior is called as being honest, which has been referred in Bhagavad Gita as adambhitvam, or unpretentiousness. Oftentimes, what happens is that we claim achievements that are not ours. We like to be like someone, and we say, "Oh, I have also done that." So it is pretension of having abilities that one does not have. We have to understand that this body and mind is limited. Nobody is perfect. We cannot always think of what we should have, but we should be content with what we have. We should not lie about our accomplishments, even if it is a small lie. We should not say, I have done this or that without having achieved that. So amanitvam was about having absence of pride on your own accomplishments. Dambhitvam, or unpretentiousness, is about being honest, not claiming things that we do not possess. The third spiritual behavior is about comforting others, which has been referred in Bhagavad Gita as ahimsa, or non-injury. We should not hurt anyone through our thoughts, words, and actions. Actions are very important, but at the same time, we should also be careful about our words and, importantly, thoughts, because thoughts precede our actions. Thoughts are the ones that shape actions. So if we are non-hurtful in our thoughts, automatically our actions will become non-hurtful. We should respect all forms of life. All forms of creation serve some important purpose in this universe. So we should not destroy any part of the creation. We should try to preserve all forms of life by our thoughts, words, and actions. The next my spiritual behavior is about being accepting, which has been referred in Bhagavad Gita as shanti, or accommodation of others. We should accept all things, behavior, situations, especially the ones that we cannot change. And we should not develop the expectation that others will have to change. We have to change ourselves in order to accommodate others. We have to practice tolerance. Once again, tolerance in our thoughts, words, and actions. And that is the shanti, or accommodation of others. The next spiritual behavior is about being straightforward, which has been referred in Bhagavad Gita as arajvam. practicing rectitude or righteousness once again in thoughts, words, and actions. We should perform our duties in a straightforward manner. We should not at the same time feel guilty or indulge in conflicts. We should avoid conflicts at all costs. And that starts from our thoughts. If our thoughts are conflictful, then we will have conflicts in our actions. We have to be constantly vigilant of our thoughts and prevent these conflicts from happening. The next behavior is about surrendering your ego. It has been referred in Bhagavad Gita as Acharya Upasnam, or serving the teacher. But we should practice constantly yielding ourselves to elders, our parents, teachers. In fact, anyone who does not expect anything from us and with whom we have no fear of being taken advantage of. That should be the criterion of surrendering ourselves to someone from whom we do not expect that this person is going to take advantage of. If you're not able to find such a person, then we can surrender ourselves to Almighty, because Almighty is all pervading, omnipotent, and that is not going to take advantage from us. So we have to surrender ourselves to such people. The next one pertains to being pure, or what has been referred as shocham, both internal purity and external purity. So, for developing this, we can indulge in daily disciplines. Oftentimes, we become jealous of other people. We look at them and look at their accomplishments, or look at the nice things they're having, and we start comparing ourselves with them and saying, "Oh, I do not have this, and this such and such person has this." So that fosters jealousy. If we stop comparing ourselves to others, that jealousy will be quenched. We should just compare ourselves with ourselves, where we were in the past and what actions we did, so how we are progressing, how we are accomplishing things. That should be our goal. Oftentimes we also get angry, especially when things do not go our way. We feel anger. An antidote for anger is accepting things as they are. We cannot change everything, and we have to be more accepting. Another problem that we have is having fears. We are worried about the future. If we develop faith in Almighty's plans and divine plan and divine will, then there is no fear. We become fearless because we know that Almighty is always there, guiding us, protecting us in all walks of life. Another one is about selfishness. When we start claiming things for this body, for this mind, we become very self directed. We can practice selflessness, because everything and anything that we have learned in this society has been from this society. So we have to be selfless. Nothing we have originated or created ourselves. Everything Almighty provided us, the society provided us. So we have to repay that, and that is also known as duty consciousness. We should avoid guilt. Sometimes we are guilty. Oh, I did this mistake. I did not do this well. So we have to practice forgiveness. We have to forgive ourselves as well as forgive others for whatever problems we may encounter. At the same time, we have to also avoid pride, like we mentioned earlier in the slide, that we should be humble, or humility, not being claiming all the credit for our accomplishments. And at the same time, we should not be self condemning. We should not say, "Oh, I'm good for nothing." We should appreciate the true nature of self, which is not the body, not the mind, but something beyond the body and mind. We should avoid hatred by practicing love. We have to develop a disposition of love. Sometimes we become hateful. Oh, I don't like this, I don't like that. So we have to develop a love, an unconditional love towards every form of creation. Finally, we should avoid possessiveness, that I own this, I am in charge of this, by developing a sense of detachment. The next spiritual behavior is about being steadfast, which has been referred as stharam in Bhagavad Gita. We have to apply steady effort towards our own goals and objectives. Whatever we want to accomplish, we should do karma or action. And that is very important. We have to choose what goals and objectives we have and then remain focused on that. And at the same time, we should remain focused on the true nature of self, which is not just this body or not just this mind. The next spiritual behavior is about being a master of the mind. We have to be constantly alert. We have to be aware of the mind, what it is thinking, what it is doing. We have to discipline the source of thinking by daily introspection. This has been referred in Bhagavad Gita as Atma Vinigraha or self-restraint. We should not indulge in actions that will harm others or that will cause disruption. We should always analyze, constantly analyze our thinking, because that is the one that is going to determine our actions. So we have to choose the thoughts at the level of our senses, not be constantly being driven by sensory perceptions, but at the same time being vigilant. Another way of looking at it is being single pointed in one's efforts, by having the correct direction. The next spiritual behavior is about being objective towards senses, which is also referred as indriyartheshu vairagyam, or dispassion towards sensory objects. If we constantly indulge in pleasures, automatically there will be pain. So we have to draw the line with our pleasures. There is a limit and method practice that we should do. We should be calm towards worldly sensory pleasures and possessions of wealth, power, influence, fame, name, etc. Again, we should be careful that whatever has come our way has been through the efforts of so many people, and we should not take credit for all that has come to us. So in the process, we become more dispassionate towards sensory objects and look at the pleasures and possessions as they are. We are not controlled by them. For example, it is food. We are not driven by food that we should go to the top-notch restaurants, we should go for gourmet dining, all those things. We should take food as a means of supporting this body, supporting this mind, so we consume food without being controlled by the food. The next spiritual behavior is about abstaining from self-importance, which has been called as anahankara, or absence of ego. Oftentimes we believe that I have done this, I own this, I am enjoying this. That is all ego. We should not be driven by ego, as Albert Einstein has said, that ego is inversely proportional to knowledge. More the knowledge we have, lesser we have the ego, and lesser the knowledge, more the ego. So we have to be constantly vigilant about this ego. At the same time, we should not be self-condemning. We should not say, "Oh, I'm good for nothing. I have not done this. I have not done that." We should not blame ourselves. We should believe in performing actions, doing our duties with no expectation of results. For example, we work hard in our job without expecting a promotion. As a student, we study hard. We do read our all books. We try to understand as much as possible without being worried about the examination. So that is doing our actions without expectation of results. And the next spiritual behavior is about being objective towards life, which has been called in Bhagavad Gita as Janam Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukh Dosha Anudarshanam, which is accepting the limitations of birth, death, old age, sickness, injuries, pain. All these events. We have all taken birth, so all of us are going to die one day. That is a reality. But oftentimes we forget this reality and we get possessed by everything that is happening around us. And likewise, old age is also a reality. We will all get old. We will all get sick from time to time. We will have acute illnesses. We will have chronic illnesses. That is part of living. We will get injuries, both mental injuries as well as physical injuries. So that is part of life. We will have pain. Wherever there is pleasure, it will be followed by pain. So we have to understand this true nature of life and what limitations it poses. We should not think about life as being perpetual. And the next spiritual behavior is about avoiding ownership, which has been called as asakti, or freedom from ownership. We cannot claim ownership of this body. We cannot claim ownership of this mind. We cannot claim ownership of the land. We cannot claim ownership of our knowledge. We cannot claim ownership of our people, because all these things are temporary. We should understand that we are just a managing trustee. What we possess today was possessed by someone else yesterday and will be possessed by someone else tomorrow. So we are just the managing trustee, and we should do our duty as best as we can as being the managing trustee. The next behavior is about caring without attachment. Caring without attachment is about that we have all these relationships with our spouse, with our children, all friends, all the people close to ourselves. So we should do our best in all these relationships, but avoid attachment. Let us be dispassionate towards caring. If someone leaves us, we should not grieve that, but be accepting that that is part of the universal plan, that is part of the divine plan, that is part of the Almighty's plan. We should not be unnecessarily grieved about it, but we should be more accepting in our disposition. And then the next spiritual behavior is about developing equanimity, samachitvam, a very important understanding. Let us not be very overtly happy with desirable results or excessively sad with non-desirable results. We should not be bipolar in our disposition, not be manic at one time and not be depressed at another time. We should maintain equilibrium. This is not swinging between depression and elation. That balance is very important. Samachitvam, very, very important in life. The next one is about being a part of the creation. We have to understand that we are a part of the totality, and maintaining that constant link with the absolute, with the totality, with the magnanimity. That is the most important thing that we should be always constantly become aware of. And as a result, we become free ourselves from reaction. Somebody says something, we react to it. That should be avoided. Let us be more reasonable. Let us be more. Let us develop mastery over our moods, so that we do not swing, so that we understand that whatever is happening under a divine plan. We should accept results of all actions as the will of the Almighty. Once again, important that we should do our duties, but at the same time accept the divine will, the will of the Almighty, which is so very important in our growth and understanding. And then the next one is about cherishing solitude. Cherishing solitude is Vivek Desha Sevitvam, which is what is that sometimes we are by ourselves and we get ourselves busy by watching a TV, going on the internet, getting busy. That is should be avoided. We should cherish our solitude. We should find simple, quiet, contemplative environment where we can just be happy with ourselves, without any thought of the past, without any worry about the future. Just be at the present moment, avoiding engaging the mind in constant activity, just being silent, just being enjoying this very moment as it is. That is a very important quality. And the next one is avoiding longing for interaction, or which is called as Arati Jan Sansadi in Bhagavad Gita, absence of craving for company. We should not be perturbed by absence of social interaction or company. If God has placed us in a situation where there are not many people around us, we should be content. We should be happy both in the absence and presence of the people. If there are people, we should be happy with that. We should not just purposely avoid people. If people come in our life, if there are friends, there are other people, that's welcome. But at the same time, if they are not there, we should not be overtly concerned about this absence. The next one is constantly delving in self. Now, the self is not the body, not the mind, the inner self. We have to understand that we are beyond just this body, beyond this mind. We should develop a cycle of listening, reflecting, contemplating to our own self. Once again, that comes with solitude. Once again, that comes with all the things that we have said, avoiding ego, avoiding pride, avoiding all those things that we've been discussing. So that constant delving in the self is very, very important. And then finally, committing to self knowledge. We have to understand that the human purpose of life is fourfold. One is we have to live by ethical standards. Whatever the ethical standards in the society are, we should live by them. The second one is earth, or achieving security. We have to be secure against other human beings. We have to be secure against animals. We have to be secure against weather, all those securities. And then another one is calm, seeking pleasure. There's nothing wrong in seeking pleasure. We should seek pleasure, but all, at the same time, practice the limit and method. Because if we overindulge in pressure, in pleasure, then it is going to be result in pain. And then ultimate goal of life is freeing ourselves from desire or moksha or total liberation. When there is no more desire, then the person merges in the totality. And that is the true liberation. And that is becoming limitless. That is the limitlessness. When you merge with the totality, when you let go of this body, let go of this mind, and enjoy the totality. Thank you very much.